All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Taft City Council and Successor Agency. As a courtesy to all, please turn off your cell phones or set them on vibrate. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby at Taft City Hall, 209 East Kern Street in Taft during normal business hours. We're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by our City Manager, Craig Jones, followed by the invocation from Heather Mueller of St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. If you'll join us, please.
Salute and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I have a question before I pray. What is special about this day? I'll give somebody a free dinner if they know. What is today?
City Council.
No. That is very special, Archel. Yes, for sure. I'll give you a hint. Colonel Allensworth. State Park.
Maybe that park out there in off of Corbin.
Near Delano, yeah. Okay, that's a hint. Today is a very special day.
County Day. His birthday.
No, but that's close. You're getting
All right,
close.
what was it?
You're getting close.
You can Google
Today
it
is
quick.
called Juneteenth. Juneteenth. It is in 1863. The proclamation, the Independence Proclamation, was signed by Abraham Lincoln. Texas in 1865 made a law against slavery, and it was on June 19th in 1865. So in this country, it's fair to say that slavery was outlawed on June 19th, 1865.
Well, thank you very much.
It's called Juneteenth.
Juneteenth. All right.
Yes. Thank you. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and eternal God, we come together this night in this wonderful town, in this special place, giving thanks for all the people who make this place so wonderful. We thank you for the City Council and the wisdom that they carry, the time that they offer, and the commitment that they make for the good of the people in this town. And dear Lord, we thank you for the gift of Colonel Allensworth and the place of the African American community in our state and in our world. We thank you and we ask and pray for your guidance, Almighty God, for that we may be instruments of your peace, your justice, your love here in this place today and always. We pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Heather. Thanks for the fun facts, too. Okay, Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Knorr,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Here. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
And Councilmember Miller.
Here.
All right, everybody's present and accounted for. First item on this evening's agenda is public hearing. Adopt resolutions authorizing Kern County Tax Collector to collect refuse charges and standby refuse charges for vacant commercial buildings. The recommendation is to conduct a public hearing and then a motion to adopt a resolution. City Manager Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. Section 5473 of the Health and Safety Code authorizes the collection of refuse fees by the county tax collector upon adoption of an appropriate resolution by the City Council.
Thank you very much, sir. At this time, I would open the public hearing on this matter. Anybody wishing to speak in support or opposition to this matter, please step forward. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft providing for collection of refuse charges by the county tax collector pursuant to Section 5473 et sec. Health and Safety Code And a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft, providing for collection of standby refuge charges by the county tax collector pursuant to Section 5473 ETSEC Health and Safety Code."
Motion.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Council members? No? We have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Yes.
And Mayor Nor.
Yes, and that passed on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, item number 2, public hearing, adopt resolutions authorizing Kern County Tax Collector to collect sewer charges and standby sewer charges for vacant commercial buildings. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Section 5473 of the Health and Safety Code also authorizes the collection of sewer fees by the county tax collector upon adoption of an appropriate resolution by the City Council.
All right. At this time, I'm going to conduct a public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition or support of this matter, please step forward. Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft providing for collection of sewer charges by the county tax collector pursuant to Section 5473 ETSEC Health and Safety Code," as well as a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft providing for collection of standby sewer charges by the county tax collector pursuant to Section 5473 ETSEC Health and Safety Code."
Motion.
I have another motion, another second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that we find that a lot of these commercial buildings are supposedly vacant, but we find that in fact are being used, and the trash containers are being used. And so even though there's not a going business in that facility, we've come to the conclusion that they need to pay the sewer and refuse just like anybody else. So
Pay
the
their way.
commercial building tapped, you're on the hook. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that explanation. Any other discussion?
Sir.
I have a motion, a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Yes. And Mayor Nor.
Yes. Thank you. That passes on a 5-0 vote. Next up, item number 3, public hearing, Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, citizen request public comments. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The engineer's report for Landscape Maintenance District Number 1 was received at City Hall meeting on June 5th, 2018. The Landscape Maintenance District 1 consists of Track 5574, Phase 1, Track 5956, Phases 1 through 3, Track 6114, Track 651001, Track 7227, Phase 1. Parcel assessment will remain at the same level as last year, $86. The funds from the district will be collected by the Kern County Assessor's Office and distributed to the city as a special assessment. These assessments, when collected, will go to the prospective funds to pay for the maintenance and operations of landscaping and lighting of that district. It is recommended the City Council adopt a resolution setting the assessments for Maintenance District Number 1 for fiscal year 2018-2019 as presented in the engineer's report.
Thank you very much, City Manager Jones. At this time, I'll conduct that public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak in support of or opposition of, please step forward. None? We are pleasing the crowd tonight. Close that public hearing. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft setting the assessment for Landscape Maintenance District Number 1.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have some discussion, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, we'll jump on in there.
What I would like to know is, one, we're operating this at a $17,000 deficit, what appears to be annually. So about $50 per parcel based on the number of parcels in the landscape and lighting district. We're currently paying $86 per year as part of their property tax. And to bring the fund even would be an additional $49 and change. What would the process be to ultimately get that either increased or alternatively decreasing our cost to match revenues?
There's a legal process, the Prop 218 process that we went through a few years ago, which was defeated by opposition of majority of the property owners. The finance department does plan on doing another fee study And part of that fee study would be Prop 218 adjustments for any enterprise funds, including the Landing Landscape District, that we might be running a deficit at. So hopefully with better education and letting people know what the actual dollar amount is per year, it's not a month charge, it's a little more education of what it goes for and why, maybe we won't have the opposition that we have.
I'd be willing to bet that most of the folks who live in those districts probably pay property taxes of around $3,000 annually. So you're talking pennies, percentage-wise, on what it costs. Alternatively, what's our ability to decrease either service or landscape requirements, overhead costs to match revenues?
It's a budgetary issue. I mean, if we chose to, you could always shut the water off or not maintain the trees, let them die. But, in the long run, that if you ever had to reestablish grass or trees, it's going to cost more money. So right now, the general fund's been absorbing that, not rightfully so, but it has been.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
That was my comment too. The alternative would be to let the grass and the trees die, and I don't see that as a working option either.
Quality of life.
Yeah.
Councilman Pryor?
No comment.
Councilman Miller?
Well, whenever this thing was set up, there was no provision to look in the future and say, hey, cost of services, cost of water, cost of utilities going to increase, and that there would be some cost of living factor or, some sort of COLA involved that, every so many years.
I'd have to defer to the attorney, but I think Prop 218 made that where you can't do that. It's the same with your water fees or anything else. There has to be a
So,
Prop 218 process.
why would you want to get in the landscape business if you're not going to make, and not that I don't want to make money at it, we just don't want to lose money at it.
Yeah.
We just want to break even. But we're running a deficit from I don't know when of $57,000 as last year, and it's estimated we're going to have a deficit
It
rollover of
increases a small amount
$64,000.
by each year.
Huh?
It increases a small amount by each year.
$6,000. Yeah, for it's just we're just stuck in a hard spot. I don't get it. The rest of the city is having to pay to make these neighborhoods look nice, and it's if the rest of the neighborhoods had some landscaping around their neighborhoods, or walls or bushes, trees, or whatever, it would be something. But when we build these new neighborhoods, and it comes with the landscape lighting district, it just doesn't seem right to me, and it never has. We've got the rails to trails. That's on the city. Everybody enjoys that, and we pay for that out of our fund. But we don't have to have those trees and lawns and all the landscaping around to make those neighborhoods look nice. So it's a sharing thing, and they're just not paying their share. That's the way I look at it.
What's the light cost? Electric lights.
Utilities are $3,798 for last year.
Those are the street lights in those neighborhoods.
Would be some lights in order to keep the grass and water going.
That's a public safety issue. I don't think you want to shortchange public safety for that.
If I was a property owner, what's the incentive to me to go ahead and pay that extra tax then?
You don't have a choice.
No, it's collected. What we will have to do, we tried this. I don't know if you all were on the council when this went before the voters. What was really disappointing were the small percentage of people that are a part of the landscaping and lighting district that actually decided to vote. I mean, it was minuscule. It was embarrassing. And we talked about that. So I would have to hope when we take a look at this the next time, we will work very, very hard on a little public outreach to let those people know that truly they need to pay their fair share. It's only right. Also, that landscaping lighting district has gotten
And if
larger.
you remember, we actually did work pretty hard to try to get the word out. Even Mayor Paul Linder at the time, because he's part of that,
That's right.
he went out and spoke to his neighbors door to door to let them know what it was about.
I don't know. I think 20% of the people that were a part of that actually voted. It was dismal. So all we can do is try to hope that we're more successful on the next go round, because we don't want to turn off the lights and jeopardize public safety. And
It's in the past, we haven't always been in such great financial shape, and we ebb and flow, and the could come again, and we might be in trouble again. This is where we have to look at these things down the road. Right now, we're on a flow, and it's not a big hit to our general fund, but it's just typical of government that here we got a little enterprise going, and we're losing money at it. If it was a private funded deal, they would have stopped it a long time ago. You can't continue to lose money, and we're just continuing to roll up a deficit here, operating those landscape districts without proper funding. So that's my gripe.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Okay, any other comments regarding that?
Do I understand correctly? We do have this on the radar. We're going to consider putting it back out for 218 vote? Okay, thank you.
At this time, I would entertain a motion. Oh, I did. I had a motion and a second. No more comment? May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
No.
Councilmember Cryer,
No.
Councilmember Bryant,
A reluctant yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Reluctant, yes.
Mayor Nor.
Yes, as well. Thank you. And that passes on 3-2 vote.
You bet.
All right, next
Mine-
up.
Mine also was a protest vote, so.
Understood.
Not reluctant,
Definitely
just a
understand.
protest.
Understood. Next up, item number 4, presentation by Teresa Binkley, Finance Director for the 2018-2019 budget. Teresa?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm here this evening to present our final 2017 and proposed 2018-19 budget. Okay, so I'm going to start off, since I haven't done this one in a while, just for a refresher, because you have the full budget document, but within our discussion, we're only going to be focusing on the general fund. But there are many other sections to the budget, so I was just going to cover some of the other stuff before we get into the general fund. So the budget is consistent of 21 separate funds. So as you know, the general fund, and that's what you're most focused on and take a look at. There's also other funds, 20 through 24 and 36. Those are separate funds by requirements. They're separate legal requirements, but they are part of the general fund in itself, but we are legally required to have them in a separate fund themselves. And that would be TDA money, gas tax money, traffic congestion money. Fund 36 is asset forfeiture money. We also, I didn't list it because we really don't have any money in it, but there is also fund number 37 that is for federal asset forfeiture money. We did have a little bit of money, but we don't have no money in that fund currently at all. Then there's funds 38 and 50. Fund 38 is the landscape and lighting district, the one that you were discussing. And Fund 50 is the community service officer. That one, these have their own revenue sources and their expenditures, but they are still part of the city, but they're treated somewhat like a separate entity because they have their own revenue source for a specific purpose, and those monies can only be used for those purposes. So that's why, per se, you have a separate fund for them. We also have Fund 59, which is the internal service fund, which for us is our central garage. All services that are directly related to any vehicle is charged directly to that vehicle. All expenses that cannot be directly related to a vehicle in itself, so say salary for the garage, electricity for the garage, Those kinds of items are quarterly allocated to all the different departments that use that service for each quarter. So by the end of the fiscal year, all expenses for the garage has been allocated out to all the departments that have used the central garage for their vehicles. Then we have Fund 51, which is the MCCF, Fund 53, which is inmate welfare, Fund 58, which is the federal wastewater treatment plant, Fund 60 is sewer, Fund 61 is refuse, Fund 62 is transit, and Fund 70 and 71 is the city's wastewater treatment plant. Those funds are actually treated as enterprise funds, which are of business type. Fund 51 now is actually, we still treat it like a business type, but it is actually, because of the way that the new contract's set up, it's part of the city, but it's still, we continue to treat it like a business type and keep it separate. But the money is actually part of the city's now. It's not restricted at any type. And then on Fund 53, the inmate welfare, those are funds that are, the revenue is generated from canteen sales and different sources, and those funds are specifically to be used on the welfare of an inmate. So basically, yard activities or games, books, whatever they need. So they generate, money is generated and expended for their purpose. Then there's Fund 65, 66, and 67, which is now considered the successor agency. Excuse me, out of those funds, 65 and 66 are no longer used and are going to be removed from the budget document beginning this fiscal year. 65 was for operations, normal day-to-day, where that's the fund that used to, where tax revenue used to go in, and you would have your everyday operations. Fund 66 was the low mod housing money that we would get, which is it's no longer. And Fund 67 was for debt service. So out of the funds, the only one that has remained since the dissolving of the RDA is Fund 67 for the debt service. And also some expenses go into Fund 67, allocated expenses for managing the debt. So, any questions? Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the budget is a financial management plan. It's based on existing contractual legal obligations and other estimates of operating expenditures. Revenue projections were prepared based on the historical patterns and currently known facts. So in my budget presentation this evening, I'm going to go over the final budget numbers for 17-18. We're going to cover the 18-19 proposed budget. We're going to take a look at the capital purchases that are being proposed for 18-19, and then we're going to look at the expenses for CalPERS for 18-19. My coins. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to. I'm going to skip that one for now. Okay. So, when I'm going through these slides, I tried to make it go along with the budget. So if you want to follow along with me in the budget document that's in the council agenda, I'm starting on page 23, which, so I'm going to start there. So property tax revenues are estimated to remain comparable to prior year budget levels. So when I take a look at my final budget for 17-18, it was $679,000. And that is all sources of property tax that's secured, unsecured, utility and those kinds of taxes. So it's all property taxes. So for my proposed budget for 18-19, I'm proposing $667,000. The reason for the decrease, which is approximately $11,500, is that secured property tax took a large jump, approximately about $30,000 from prior years. I'm not sure if that was because maybe there was some extra supplemental bills because of the new properties that are being purchased, or if it is an actual true number. So I kind of decreased that from $600,000 down to $585,000. I took about $15,000 off of that one and backed it down until we determine whether the $600,000 is going to be an actual sustainable number for secured property tax. So that's the reason for it not being as high, because normally property tax are pretty steady, but because we're having these new influxes of homes and then people moving from homes and acquiring those, and then people from the other homes acquiring and changing the property values and the base of the property tax. So there's kind of a shift going on. So I was kind of wanting to be a little conservative with that until we determine a new base. So the next item is sales tax. Sales tax estimated for 17-18, this is for the final budget, ended up being $3.8 million. And current year, I budgeted $3.76, which is just a slight decrease. The proposed budget for sales tax itself, for the particular sales tax line, I actually budgeted identical to the original 17-18 budget. So it ended up being about $3,000 difference. So
just for a point of clarification, you mistakenly said 3.8 million. You meant 1.38 million and 1.376 million.
yes, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Correct. Sorry.
We were all excited. We were all very excited.
Yeah, well, it's up there. It's 1.3 million, yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. So then the next item in our revenue is business license revenue. Over the past 5 years, business license revenue has ranged anywhere from approximately $130,000 to $135,000. So in my budgeting, I have budgeted $131,000 for business license. So it's remained flat. And the last item on this slide is motor vehicle and other taxes estimated lower than prior. Property tax in lieu of vehicle licensing fees also took a large jump from prior years. It jumped $70,000. So it was more than what our consultants that usually watch and monitor our sales tax and our property tax had anticipated. So when I budgeted for this year, I did budget a slight increase, but nothing comparable. I only increased it from original 17-18 budget to the original of 18-19 budget by $17,000. So property tax in lieu of vehicle licensing fee, I budgeted $715,000. Okay. So other revenue also has decreased. For 4 years, we have been receiving this California Solar Initiative monies, and it had ranged from anywhere from $64,000 to $32,000. Last fiscal year, it ended up being non-existent. It was $1,000. So this year I budgeted $500. So it had decreased our budget from 44,000 down to this 13,000 that I budgeted. So revenue from use of money also is a decrease. The decrease on the use of money is because we are no longer renting or leasing our old garage building. So through time, that has decreased. So it was a little bit, it's $11,000 it decreased. Nothing significant. Okay, for revenue for police department, as you know, the school resource officers agreements went away. That would be a decrease of revenue for the police department of $332,000. And then the revenue for streets and franchise fee agreement. Again, the franchise fees and the street department, because of projects that was in the final budget, we had Church Street and the Park and Ride we had done billings for them. So that was revenue that came in to offset the expenditures. So this year we did not have that. So the budget actually has decreased significantly by $400,000 because of those. And then the last one is the planning department. The planning department is kind of depending on what's going on, because they're strictly related to permits and activity within the city. So I budget that one about $16,000 less than we had originally budgeted prior year on the original budget, because it ranges anywhere from $176,000 down to $137,000. So it kind of varies.
So what's the actual number you put in the budget?
For the whole department, it's $107,000.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So everything that we had just discussed, the decrease in property tax, the decrease in property tax in lieu for the vehicle licensing fee, the SRO agreements, the street department, the projects, that was a billing to reimbursement. So that's really an anomaly. It's not really an item. Planning department, and also the main one is the transfer in from general fund. It was a decrease from prior year to this year to cover capital purchases. So the decrease in revenue was approximately $1,036,000. So this sheet gives you a summary by department of what the total is, and according to this number, the $8,079,000 ties with the front reconciliation sheet that shows you the total revenue, but this is how it's divided amongst all the departments. Then I also prepared this sheet. This sheet was something different that I had done. It's where I had taken the different categories of revenue sources and put in the final budget numbers versus the proposed numbers for 18-19, and it shows the increase and decrease and the change, the percentage of change. So it's 12%, but this is based upon the final number. When you take a look at the next slide, I took a look and compared it to the original number for 17-18, and it ends up being approximately 10% decrease between the original versus the proposed. So the beginning budget versus our beginning budget, where we're at. So I wanted to kind of show you that we're kind of in line. We actually did decrease our revenue to offset the loss of the contracts, the changes that we went through within that I discussed in the revenue. Any questions?
Quick question for you, Teresa. On our operating transfers in, that $1.7 million number, is that from all funds, not just from capital reserves? Or for capital purchases?
That is from all funds, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's like gas tax and
Sadly, out
different
of
funds.
12 of those revenue funds, only one is an increase,
Yes.
and that's less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 0.5%, actually. So we're losing revenue all across the board, according to your figures.
Compared to last year?
Yes.
Revenue for the police department, that'll be offset though from when we have attrition on those 2 officers?
Yes.
So,
We'll talk about that when I get to the expenditure side. Yes. But yes, there was actually 3 positions.
So for the public's benefit, the other current charges, $2.7 million or $2.8 million, that's the CCF?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. That's service fee and overhead. And other items within that, but yes. Any other questions before I move on?
Keep it going.
Okay. So I think we kind of covered this, why the decrease. Those are basically we discussed them. Okay. So we're going to move on to planned expenditures. Okay, so planned expenditures for general government, that includes admin, city council, city attorney, and HR personnel. So that include these expenditures. The first lines exclude capital. The capital is listed on the site. The capital is $1,034,000. We'll go over the list of specifically what is entailed in that total number. But that number, the $8,079,000, matches with what the revenue projections were. So I did the same thing as I did for the revenues. I did a summary comparison for original to final budget and then to the proposed budget. So as you can take a look at, I wanted to make sure that you're comfortable with the fact that the budget does reflect a decrease in revenue, but in turn, it does reflect a decrease in expenditures. So, also, we were going to talk about why the decrease. So, first of all, in an administrative budget that was included in last year, we had budgeted a transfer for the city's portion of the construction of the transit center. And that was $940,000 that had been budgeted. So this year, of course, those expenditures are not there. So that was right off the top, $1 million taken out of expenditures. The second thing that has happened, and you'll be approving it, is the change in staffing levels for the police department, and that has been reflected in this budget. And also with the new police chief, he has taken a look at his budget and he has decreased his overtime budget. So on to capital purchases. Oh, sorry about that. This slide, it carried over for 18-19. Within the capital purchases, we have, I know that there's been a discussion about remodeling City Hall or the council chambers. So within this budget, we have budgeted $175,000 as a holding point it will come before, once we get a plan, it will come before council at that point, and we'll address the actual cost, but there is $175,000 in this budget. There's also included in the budget money to make some improvements at the Taft Police Department. That would include a new roof and some remodeling inside. There's also included in this budget money for signage. There's also money budgeted for equipment replacements.
What was the budget for signage?
$50,000.
Okay.
Then there's money budgeted for equipment replacement. That would be like in the Civic Center, a lawnmower, just standard operating stuff, nothing too large. And you'll see a breakdown here in a minute. Also, the animal shelter, we've budgeted $5,000 to upgrade her software. The current software she has right now is working on her old computer. It is not compatible to be moved over to her new one, so we need to purchase the software and get that moved over. Also is patrol cars for the police department. There's also budgeted is a purchase for a water truck. The water truck purchase has been allocated between 5 different funds. So it's general fund, the sewer, the refuse, and the 2 wastewater treatment plants. So each department is going to pay $20,000 for a budgeted of $100,000 for the water truck. But whatever the actual cost comes in, it'll be divided by 5. And then lastly, in the capital is annual street maintenance and striping, so that both those together, street maintenance at $300,000, striping is at $30,000. And that turned out very small, but you have it in front of you. Here is the breakdown of the $1,034,000 specifically for general fund in what departments. With the remodel of City Hall, planning department and finance department have budgeted office furniture to be purchased at that time when the remodel goes on to accommodate staffing and new seating arrangements.
How long has it been since we've made investments in any sort of office furniture, holistically?
My department, since the 80s, it's
Thank you.
pink.
As long as your council chairs were.
Well, probably been
that investment.
as long as I've been alive, so
20-something
it's
years.
definitely needed. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Teresa.
No, that's fine. Any more questions before I move on? Okay. So, and I also did a comparison here of the original and final, because I did want to, like in my department, we were originally going to go ahead and have the carpet replaced and the furniture replaced last year as a project, but after discussion in the process to have this type of project done, it was best to hold off and do it as a whole when we have all the rest of the City Hall done. So I ended up not spending my money that we had budgeted for that project, but I did spend money in the computers and in other items. We ended up replacing all of City Hall's computers. And then on the street maintenance, we had an increase, but those are projects that you approve throughout the year, and partially part of that money is reimbursed through invoicing to Caltrans. Any questions? No? Okay. Okay. So let's talk about CalPERS. Okay. So these slides give a breakdown of what our rates are going to be for each plan and how much the unfunded liability is on each plan, but that is for our current payment for current year. Excuse me. And I left all the prior years in there so you can see how they've been increasing. So this is miscellaneous plan. These are regular, like office employees, standard employees. So, and then we have police safety first tier. This plan, currently, we do not have no employees in. The prior police chief was in this plan, so I'm expecting to see this plan. So we won't have any current, so the 15.79 against salary, there will not be no expense on that part, but we will still have to pay the $146,000 of the unfunded liability. But eventually, this plan will, once they catch up with his retirement, will go into the inactive pool. And then it'll become a different type of payment system, just like the fire department. And then here's police safety tier. This is where the majority of our officers are. The rate in the unfunded liability portion. And then, now these are the new plans. This is the miscellaneous plan. So the first miscellaneous plan is what we call the classic. And this is the miscellaneous plan called the PEPRA. So we have been on this plan since actually 2013, I believe. 13 or 14. So as you can see, eventually as the more people got in the plan and they didn't meet their expectations for investments, we have began to have a unfunded liability on this. Now the safety PEPRA, as you see, we had 0 and 0 because we didn't have any officers in this plan for quite some time. And then finally, we do have officers in this plan now. But what was surprising to me was how large the unfunded liability jumped in such a short time with us just joining. So, and then, like I talked about, this is the fire safety, the inactive pool, and their police department first tier will join the inactive pool. So we have, we still have an unfunded liability portion on this until all members are unfortunately deceased out of the plan, and then we'll see what happens then.
So on a fund without any active folks in it, we're going to see a 25% increase in our payment to CalPERS.
Yes, because we're paying on their retirement and toward the people that are young,
No, I understand
their
that.
retirement.
I just think it's
Mhm.
important
Once you become, once you hit your milestone that you become fully vested, which is 5 years, then once an employee, you're always an employee of each agency. You never go away.
Yep. Not until you pass on, huh? Not until you go away.
Well, if you can withdraw your money, and then at that point you're done. And people do withdraw their money. So, okay. So this here is correct. It is. These were the numbers from 17-18. The totals. I'm going to get caught up here. This was what I presented to you last year. This is the 17-18 number. So at that point, we had budgeted current year expenses of $449,000. Unfunded payment was $186,000 for a total of $635,000 in retirement costs. With that time, 127 employees, the average was about $5,000 per employee. So for 18-19, and keep in mind these were just in miscellaneous plans, this is not the safety. We're going to talk about the safety. So this year, current year expense is $452,000. Unfunded liability is $247,000 for a total of $699,000 of now keep in mind it's budgeted. So, and out of 129 employees that I have budgeted, so that ends up being an average of $5,400 per employee. Okay, so now we're on to safety plans. Again, this is for 17-18. This is what I presented to you last year, and this is just a reminder of what our current unfunded and our total expenses. But keeping in mind, in the safety, we don't have as many employees, so the average cost of each employee is quite large. So for 18-19, current year expense is budgeted at $159,000. Unfunded liability payments are $181,700 for a total expense of $341,000. With 14 employees, because we're doing some changes in the police department, now it increases to over $24,000 for each employee per year. What is that? Oh, okay. So this here is just taking the total of all three in total. So our budget expense for retirement for the 17-18 year was, yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So for 17-18, our budget was approximately $999,000 versus 16-17, which was $936,000. And then now we're into 18-19, so that $999,000 for this year is going to be $1,066,000.
$1 million.
Yes. This one, I tried all different ways to make it a little bit better to see on the screen, but so I provided handouts.
Perfect.
So, when you're looking at this is actual annual payments made from fiscal year ending 2010 through 17, and then actually 18 and 19 are not completed, but they're close to. But 19 is budgeted, and then 20 through 25 is projected based upon the unfunded liability and the rates, or the unfunded liability. So it's hard to see here too, actually in the other sheets, but the safety PEPRA is a little purple line that's kind of hidden. That's why I went ahead and created the additional sheets so you could see them individually, because the PEPRA safety is so small at this time. Even though it's taken a jump, it's just kind of hidden amongst the thousands and thousands of dollars, but the numbers are broken out on top too. So in the future years, we're going to have to figure out, especially when you get to 2025, when it's projected the unfunded liability could potentially cost the city just the unfunded liability. Now keep in mind, I was showing you unfunded and current cost was $1 million, slightly over $1 million. This that we're looking at is just the unfunded liability by itself. It does not include the current year contributions for each employee, and the rate. We don't know what the rates are back then or going to be then. So the unfunded liability is projected for fiscal year ending 2025 to be $1,165,000.
Okay, this is where the talking starts. Teresa did an exceptional job putting this together. I got to tell you, people, when you sit down in a budget meeting, what you get is 170 pages of this. Okay, now if you try to take 170 pages of this and you try to figure out a trend over the course of 15 years, that's a difficult thing to do. But Teresa did this for us. That same thing, and you will have that. And this is just the unfunded liability. Now, the deposits for current employees continue to climb as well. And we've talked about PERS many times here in the city of Taft. I made up a couple of little graphs of my own. I was in meetings all day today over in Bakersfield with a lot of people about this stuff. One of the things that some people believe is the unfunded liability was created for the first time because CalPERS lowered their anticipated rate of return from 7.5% to 7%, which they're going to do over the course of a few years. But that is not true. CalPERS have been lowering their anticipated rate of return ever since they established it. In 1992, it was 8.75 for a couple of years. Then in 94, it dropped to 8.5 for about 3 years. And then it dropped to 8.25 for about 7 years. And then it took a 0.5% drop in 0203. And then it went along and it dropped 0.25%, and then it dropped down to 7.5. Now here is where we are now. We're going to 7. But in point of fact, CalPERS went through a reallocation of assets because they want to lower their exposure to losses as well as apply political pressure. After they finished their reallocation of assets, they truly believe in their latest report that their return on investment is going to be about 5.8%. That's this number way down here. So if you look at that trend that started here, it only goes one way. It goes down. Every time, the whole time. In spite of the fact that their current estimate is that they're going to really earn for the next 10 years, average 5.8%, their business plan calls for 7%. If you look at this document, which is very telling, in 2009-10, we spent $30,000 servicing the unfunded liability. Just $30,000. In 2024, assuming still the 7%, we're projected to spend $1.165 million. There's a 4,000% increase. To help you understand that, in 2009 and 2010, the average cost of a gallon of gas was $2.20. Lately in the news, people have been complaining about the cost of a gallon of gas, up $4 some places, maybe a little bit more. Donald Trump complained about it. If the cost of a gallon of gas had mirrored the increase in the cost of the unfunded liability of PERS, a gallon of gas that we paid $2.20 for in 2009 would cost $88 in 24-25. Just to give you an idea what kind of increases we're staring at. These are huge. We, as a city, in the 430 some odd cities that are a part of CalPERS, the further you are from the top, the better off you are. The further from Armageddon, in my mind. We ranked about 270th out of the 430. City of Bakersfield about 235. And I was talking with them today at length about what's going on over there. And one person made a statement, well, our city manager is desperate. We're in a bind. And so if it makes you feel any better, there's 234 cities that are a lot more desperate than you are, a lot closer to Armageddon. The reason we have to talk about this, is because everybody needs to understand what we face. All the stakeholders. That's not just the elected representatives of the city council. That's every single employee and all the customers, all the taxpayers. There are going to be some monumental changes take place in municipalities all up and down the state over the course of the next few years. They're going to have to be. If you look back here, the negative impact to the ability for every municipality to provide services to the customer has been taking place since 2010. I mean, it's not like our income, like was pointed out by Councilman Miller, is going up with the same gradient. If it was, that would be a wonderful thing. Let's see, you had a factor of about 40. That would mean that our city budget would be $250 million. We could breathe a lot deeper on $250 million, but that's not going to happen. So we have worked very hard and will continue to work very hard to provide the services to the customer, as well as the security to our employees, which we should do, but knowing that we cannot, all by ourselves, prevent this from happening. We cannot. It's coming, but it's actually going to come at a steeper gradient than this. And those things we need to be aware of, and we do our very best to plan for those things. But you're talking about some very large increases. Just, for example, the increase from 2017-18 to 18-19, just on the service of the unfunded liability, is $124,000. For the next year, it's up to 64. The next year, up 373,000, and 4 years down the road, it's up $500,000. That's a lot of money. So, thank you very much for putting this together, Teresa, and we'll continue to work.
What percentage of our budget is tied up in the unfunded liability and just our normal PERS payments? Approximate 20%, 10%, 100%?
Total expenses close to 15.
So our
17%.
unfunded liability, just our unfunded liability that's budgeted is $535,000 of the, for an operating budget of $7 million. So,
8% or so.
yeah.
About 8%. About 8. Just the unfunded liability.
8% of our coming budget?
Total budget, right?
Yeah.
But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years later, it's projected, and I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a low projection. It's going to go from 8% to 18, 19, perhaps 20%.
And that's just unfunded liability. That's not determining what our rates.
And that's just the unfunded liability. So our regular PERS on top of that, yeah, so it's going to be 25% of our total budget is tied up paying PERS.
This is going completely up and down, like I say, up and down the state. And the
No, I
scary part
understand that, but there's nothing, it's a juggernaut, and there's nothing much we can do to stop it.
It is a freight train headed for hell. That's exactly right. That it is. And not just cities, but counties.
Yeah.
So it is going to take a lot of change, a lot of pressure, a lot of discussion. It's going to have to do nothing is to just bury your head in the sand and wait for the collapse, which we won't do, but anyway. It's the biggest part of our budget that unfortunately we have the least control over. And that's the irony of it all. Okay, any other questions?
No,
Discussion?
I've seen a lot of your budget proposals. That this was probably the best, so thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Very informative and spot on.
And color. I love color. I love bar graphs.
I
Trend is your
I
friend.
don't like your projections of revenue decreases, but it's all your fault, of course. But
Buck stops there, right?
Well, the thing is, I feel better to be honest and forthcoming and just hope.
Well,
that
hopefully,
it
we're
does
just
better.
being very cautious and things will pick up. So a lot of things that happen is not the city's fault. I mean, things that happen in the economy that affect us that we have no control over. So there's only, like Mayor said, there's only a few things that we can have control over. PERS is one we don't, and it's a big chunk of change that's coming out of our budget, and so we have to work around it. We have to ask our employees to work around it, and we have to ask our residents here, our taxpayers, to help us work around it. So we're doing the best we can. We're trying to provide the best services we can. You know, we're doing $300,000 for striping and paving, and that's not much when, you know, we need to do about $20 million worth. So we just do what we can with what we got, and we still got to remember that we're on a 30-day out with the CCF contract, and they can pull the plug anytime on us. So that's even more than PERS. That's more scary than anything, because that's the biggest part of our revenue. So we just do the best job we can out there and keep that place running and make the state happy and move on. That's all
We
I
will
have, Mr.
continue to work very, very hard with legislators, and we'll see, who comes to the top after the upcoming election. But this is a huge problem, a huge issue up and down the state. It's not local by any means, and it will have to be dealt with on a very grand scale. There's no doubt about it. All right, any other comments regarding the budget? Besides, way to go, Teresa. Thank you very much, and thank everybody, thank all the department heads for what they did as well. Okay. Next item on the agenda, item number 5, approval of final budget for fiscal year 2017-2018 and proposed budget for fiscal year 2018-2019. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Attached here too are the final operating and capital expenditure budgets for fiscal year 2017-2018 and the proposed operating and capital expenditure budgets for fiscal year 2018-2019. These budgets maintain the conservative fiscal policies of the City Council. These budgets were reviewed by the Finance Committee on June 13, 2018 and were recommended to be presented to the Council for adoption.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft adopting the City of Taft final budget for fiscal year 2017-2018 and proposed budget for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion regarding the budget? None? All right, I have a motion and a second. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Yes.
And Mayor Nor.
Yes, thank you very much. That passes on a 5-0 budget, and thanks for all the hard work once again. All right, next up, citizen request public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issues not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. I am sorry for holding you up for so long, Dr. Daniels, but we have Dr. Deb Daniels who would like to address the council. Please come forward.
Good evening. I'm Deb Daniels, Superintendent President of Taft College. I live at 817 Philippine Street in Taft. And good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
It was very interesting to listen to your budget report, so I was glad to be here. I'm here tonight to extend a thank you to the council and the mayor for their support of our Measure C. And even though our Measure C didn't pass, I want you to know that we will continue on our mission to serve all our students in the excellent way that we always have. And I wanted you to assure you of that. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and myself and all the faculty and staff at Taft College, we thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And in spite of the fact that this did not pass, it is still a gem. It's something we can all be very, very proud of. It might take a little bit longer to get it where you want to get it and where it needs to go. That's the nature of some things, but thank you for all your efforts and your staff. And it is something we are all very, truly proud of in this community.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, next up, council statements, non-action. Mayor Pro Tem Hill, I'm going to start with you. Ladies first this evening.
First off, I want to remind everybody we're going to be having a fabulous 4th of July extravaganza, and I look forward to that. I think that we will. Oh. And my voice is so loud, I figured I never needed one of those. Sorry. So I, again, will invite everybody to come out and enjoy the fireworks. There are fireworks, and we should be there. The other thing I just wanted to say, we always hear criticism about what we do here and what the city spends money on, and whatever it is we do, there's always somebody who's going to say we didn't do it right, or we didn't do it, we should have been spending, if we paved a street, we should have paved another street, or we're inconveniencing us for having to be on that particular street. But, we do our work here. There was criticism we put the hotel in, but the hotel is full almost every night, and if you've never been in it, it is a beautiful hotel. It's amazingly beautiful. But as some of the other people here, I was invited to a wedding this weekend at our transit center, and that venue is going to be a beautiful place for people to consider parties and events. It is, for those on the romantic side, nothing could be more beautiful than the sun setting with the monument coming through and people exchanging their vows. It was absolutely a stunning event. So, it was a good job. What we did in taking a bus station and making it into an event center, I think is going to be something that we're all going to enjoy for a long time. So I think we all deserve just a little pat in the back for that building. So that's all I have.
Certainly.
All right, I'd second the pat on the back.
Absolutely.
Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm kind of disappointed that Dr. Daniels had left, because I wanted to definitely express my condolences, for lack of a better term, that it didn't pass, because I do think that TC is a diamond in the rough for folks on the outside, and it's a diamond for whatever we have here. I'm sure that the measure had some flaws, and I'm sure that the locals who voted against it definitely had their opinions, and I appreciate that. But oftentimes we talk about a lot of the things we don't have. You have a lot of folks around town. We don't have this type of shopping center. We don't have big name retailers. We always talk about what we don't have. There's 480 approximately municipalities and communities in the state of California. Do you know how many of them have a community college? About a quarter of them. And guess who has one? We do. We have a beautiful one. We service I wish I knew the number, because I was looking at it and talking to some folks about the measure, but it's got its faults, it's got its flaws, but we all do. Every single one of us sitting here and everybody on the outside. But it is a diamond. It brings folks to Taft. And whether we like it or not, it brings in transient revenue at the very least. A lot of times it brings in new folks that actually live here in the city. That may not be a bunch of transient revenue, but those people aren't bringing their lunches to school like they're in second grade, are they? Probably not. Most of those folks are eating here, or eating at the cafeteria there, and whatnot. So I think that they've got a little bit of work to do to repropose it, and then talk a little bit more about what they're going to do with it, be a little bit more firm and educate folks. But I look forward to TC being a diamond here for us for a long, long time. Locals are definitely passionate. I think we all heard a lot of the rebuttal against that measure because of the size of it. But I think they have great intention, and I know they're going to keep doing work to bring something like that back to us, to continue the investment that we know is needed. Obviously, based on Teresa's proposal and her budget that we passed here tonight, we can see that the belt is tightening, and really it's tightening because of CalPERS. But I really wanted to commend City Manager Jones and the staff here at City Hall, as well as the folks at Public Works and all the various departments, because I saw a lot of very glowing and happy folks when they walked outside their front door and they see new sidewalks, new curb and gutter, resurfaced roads. And of course, we'd love to be able to do more, and we're trying to do more. And I'm very happy that even in this last budget, we had $300,000 plus dedicated solely to road improvement. So I'm very happy about that, and I want to commend city staff for definitely tightening their belt and finding a way to make those dollars stretch. So thank you, Craig, and thank you to your staff. I did want to wish everybody a happy Independence Day, because we don't believe, assuming everything goes well here in a little bit, we're going to be meeting before then. So have a safe, sane, fun, and free Independence Day. It's a wonderful holiday, and I know Mayor Nora will talk about the grandeur of our stadium, for lack of a better term. And lastly, I wanted to let everybody know, if you happen to be a fan of baseball, specifically youth baseball, we'll have a number of folks here in Taft this weekend through the 3rd of July. We have 6 games going on down at our ballpark. Folks from Delano, Wasco, Arvin, and Bakersfield will all be coming here to Taft. You're going to have kids from ages 8 to 12. They're going to be going downtown and spending money. Maybe their car breaks down and happens to go see Ron. You never know. I hope their car doesn't break down, but if they do, go shop at Ron's place. Buy your gas up here at Fast Trip, because they support us. I just want to encourage folks to come out because we have a beautiful facility. We have a beautiful city. We have a beautiful larger municipality area. And thank you to the Westside Recreation and Park District for their hard work and making sure that facility is second to none. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Very enthusiastic. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Josh, for bringing about the Little League and stuff, because that brings a lot of new money in our town, and that circulates a lot more than bringing the old is trying to circulate. So that really brings our level of our income up in sales tax and everything. We do have a lot of jewels here in our town. The college is a great part of it, We got the rec halls, a great part of the deal. We have the best in the world. I think that we do. Really do. Really good shape, brand new, looking. You know, it's been around for a while, but you look at it, you think it's just been built. The museum, the fort, the transit center, the monument. We have a lot of great things in our town. We're very blessed to have it all. I'll bring it up and I'll bring it up again, but we do have a lot going on. 4th of July is coming up, and I just wonder how many more 4th of Julys we're going to have left in our country. The way things are going, it's like a war, going on there. A lot of laws have been passed in other administration, and you think that there's new laws just passed, and I think the best thing to do is when to get rid of laws, go ahead and enforce them. All of a sudden they'll find out when you enforce the laws that are on the books, people will complain about, and then just get rid of the laws that are not necessary or need to be changed and stuff. Because there's too many laws on the books that are relevant or just never been enforced, and only when it's used. I like to see that we're voting on a TOT tax coming up, and the chamber will be getting that. And remember a time where they're getting this quarter is more than they did a whole year in years past, and that's good. That's used here to bring business here, and also different activities for our local cities to be used. And there's a lot that they generate. 4th of July, through our celebration that comes up, and it's a dearly an honor to be part of that, and the city to be part of it. Another thing I can mention is some of the icons, like Harvey Hall passing away. We've known him for years. He's a great man. And Mary Kay Shell. I remember Mary Kay Shell back in early 70s when she was a mayor, and also was my supervisor at one time. I remember she used to come to my house, pick up carrots, because I had some carrots there, and she'd pick up a bag of carrots and take home and help distribute to her friends and stuff. How far back I go with her coming out there, and she's a very gracious woman, and not just in the county level and the other city level, but here in our own town we have icons that are slowly passing away at the square engines. I remember doing business with him, and I bought many cars for our business from him. Other pillars out here are just slowly going away, and we have some are getting older now. They do a lot for their community. I know there have been complaints saying, a lot of things that we do in the city is appease them, but they don't. They give back to the community. They do a lot of things in the community. They belong to Rotary clubs, Kiwanis, Lions. They're out there doing a lot for our community, and we're slowly losing them. And if you see people out there doing things, thank them for it, because sometimes they're not be around here to do this stuff, and you're gonna miss them. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got a little bit of a Facebook warg tonight. Taft Independent published an article about the new commercial building that's going to go up on Supply Row and 10th Street. And surprisingly, there's people that are disappointed and actually don't want that building in. It just kind of stunned me that you wouldn't want a new commercial building to come in that would provide jobs, more property tax, more sales tax, and provide more convenience for the community here. There was talk that, we shouldn't be building new buildings, we should build a water park, a spray park. Well, people forget that the city of Taft is not in the recreation business. If you want a spray park or water park, then go talk to the recreation district, and maybe the city could work with them on that, but that's not part of our purvey to do that. The thought was, we could just go uptown and buy old buildings and refurbish them and rent them out, I guess. Well, City of Taft isn't in that kind of business either. It's not what good use of taxpayers' money is to do that kind of stuff. So, for those businesses, those commercial buildings uptown or around town, all around town that are not doing anything, we can't force them. We do as best we can with code enforcement to make them comply and try to make them look good, and we asked them, desperately, why don't you, try to rent those buildings out and get, help us and help you and, increase the value of your property. And I guess people think that our city staff and the chamber just sit on their thumbs around here. We don't think about those kinds of ideas. So it's just disappointing to sometimes live here. People didn't vote for the Prop C on Taft College because Bakersfield residents are coming over to take classes. It's like, this is our college. This is Taft College. Well, we don't produce enough people to go to Taft College to pay for everything. So it's kind of the analogy is like the hospital. Well, we had a hospital here, but we didn't have enough people use it, so it closed. And if Taft College didn't reach out to grab graduating students from other areas to come here and use this college, we wouldn't have that jewel that we have down there. Then a lot of the comments that are made, well, why don't they do this and why don't they do that? Well, you come to find out these people live in the unincorporated area of Ford City South, Taft Heights. We cannot do a thing for you. If you live in those areas, you have a county representative, and you need to have people go over there and sit on their desk and see what they can do for your area. But to complain about Taft not doing anything is just, and you live in the outside areas, but you don't want to annex and be a part of the city of Taft, it's hard for us to be able to represent you. So I want to say that you made mention about Rotary and Lions and different clubs. The Taft Kiwanis Club has more membership out of the 11 clubs in the Kern County area than any other club. So we're doing our part over here. People say Taft is dying. Taft is certainly not dying at all. We bought that railroad property for $2 million. We need to get our investment back. And we almost lost it when the state of California and the governor shut down redevelopment agencies, and they were going to come and steal that property away from us. And the railroad wasn't giving that property away, and we had the first right of a refusal to buy that property, and that's what we did. We bought that property in hopes to have development up there. So we've been working on it. It seems like a long time, but you just can't make people come here and put a Walmart or put a restaurant in or do this or do that. You can't make investors do that. You got to make it attractive for them, and that's what we're doing. But those people out there that are naysayers and saying Taft's dead and stuff, guess what? Those investors read that kind of stuff, and all you're doing is hurting the community by your negative statements. So just be positive. We're building homes. We're building homes up here on off of Front Street, the Amber development. Things are happening. A couple of new stores up on Center Street are open. People are investing in Taft. So for you naysayers, you're not looking around. You're not driving around. You're not checking things out. You're not coming down here and finding the facts out of what's really happening. So even though we have kind of a negative income, price of oil is kind of going up. I saw 2 drilling rigs down on the Midway Road down in that area. I'm drilling an actually drilling rig. You know how many people that puts to work? So things are happening slowly, a bit slowly. Things like code enforcement. Why don't we do this and do that? It just takes a long time, and people have rights, and we can't infringe on those rights, or we'll be up for a big old fat lawsuit. And we've had enough of those over the years. So we step very lightly. We do it properly. We go through the process, and sometimes it takes longer than we want it to be, but things happen, and we get it done. We've got an excellent staff down here, city. We couldn't be any more proud of our staff, all top to bottom. Craig's leading the ship and steering us through these times, and we couldn't be more proud of our city manager. And so we just need the public to not support me personally or anyone on the staff or council personally, but just the city as a whole. Be proud to live here. Quit being negative, for criminy sakes. It doesn't serve any purpose. Find the good in Taft. College. Our high school. Find a better high school than that high school sitting down there. We got water. We got more water than we know what to do with. We got dirt. We got available land. We've got an airport. We've got we got a lot of things. We got a high school with a swimming pool. Go in Bakersfield. Find a high school with a swimming pool over there. So we've got a lot here. You just got to look around and see the forest for the trees and be proud of living in Taft and quit doing all this negative stuff. We're very happy that we're getting a new little development up there. You build a building, it's permanent. It doesn't turn to dust. So, we got a new building. Somebody's making an investment of hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a building there, for criminy sakes. Be proud of that. They could have built somewhere else in some other community. So it's just frustrating sometimes. We all work hard down here to, try to do the best we can within a budget, and, PERS is just chipping away at all the good things that we want to do, and there's nothing we can do to stop that. So we have to work around that, and certainly we're looking to try to increase our revenues any way we possibly can. So saying that to build a water park that generates zero revenue or build a new commercial building, what are you thinking? You're not thinking right. So anyway, that's my little rant for tonight. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Councilman Miller.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Obviously, somebody struck a chord. Shame on you, whoever you were. I want to mirror the comments from the Mayor Pro Tem. I happened to be at that wedding in the Oil Dorado room at the new Transit Center, and it was a beautiful affair. I mean, for all the planning that we all did and everybody was involved in that process, I had never considered putting the arch out there where the gates open up to the Oil Workers Monument. That's where the arch was, and all the beautiful flowers, and that's where the ceremony was, and all the chairs were placed out there underneath the patio area. And then when the very young, happy couple were done being married, and they finally pried them apart because they were kissing like a couple of abalone, for heaven's sake. Then we all carried our chairs inside, and it was a wonderful affair inside. So it was beautiful, and it lent itself to just a fabulous affair. People in the bridal and groom's party stayed in the new hotel and took advantage of the walkable community that we have been building up. So I thought it was beautiful. So I have to agree with that. Another thing about that area, I was disappointed not too long ago to find that the people who go there to catch the early morning bus will take their fast food with them, and then come time to jump on the bus, they're within 8, 10, 12 feet of a trash can, and they'll just drop their bag in their little foil pouches of ketchup or whatever and step on them on the way to the bus. Come on, folks. Pick up after yourself. And I know when we have our wonderful fireworks display at the most incredible venue in all of Kern County, that I'm going to be disappointed by the fact that people don't just take a few extra minutes to throw your trash in a trash can. Take pride in who we are and where we live. Enjoy the fireworks. We are going to be doing some development down in that area, and there's a thing called a blast zone that has to be approved. We're going to chip away at that blast zone. So I do not know if this will be the last fireworks down there based on the development. But you know what? Every one of them that I've been to has been a wonderful affair. Lay down on a blanket in the cool grass, look straight up, and watch the fireworks explode over your head. It doesn't get better than that. It's wonderful. Kids are having a ball. Your Honor, if you haven't been here yet, you need to be there and enjoy it.
I feel like, Mr. Mayor, I've been to just about everything except the 4th of July celebration.
It's our best
I would
thing.
love to be able to make it.
You have an invite directly from me. I'll bring you and your lovely wife and your family, and please come be a part of it.
Thank you.
There's a nice hotel. You can stay back nearby.
That's right, and stay there
He
too.
knows the hotel well.
And if you got a trail-facing room, you can sit in your room and watch the fireworks.
No, you want to be outside. Trust me on this. You want to be outside. So, look forward to seeing everybody there. Celebrate the 4th of July. Don't forget what it's all about. And thank a veteran. Take a minute out of your day. That's all I have. Next up, we have the Planning Commission report. Do we have Planning Commission report this evening? All right.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Jerry Livingston. Our Planning Commission actually was relatively small agenda last week. We continued one item. Funny things, people have been talking about it for now 2 weeks or so, and we'll be hearing another item both tomorrow. So tomorrow we will be hearing the item regarding the 10,000 square foot commercial building, which was a continued item from last meeting, and we will be hearing about the Dollar General store tomorrow as well. So if anybody wants to show up and make a complaint, we'd be glad to have them show up.
Or show up at the special meeting, which shows a very pro-business approach,
Exactly.
and listen to the discussion as we come to conclusions for the betterment of our community.
And
Take
it's a
advantage
perfect
of that.
opportunity to make a comment on the actual projects and what they mean. And they both look terrific. If you haven't had a chance to look at some of the designs, they fit the Rails to Trails design. So I'm looking forward to the hearing tomorrow.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, department reports. Do we have any other department reports? None. City manager statements. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had some comments on the budget. First, I wanted to thank Teresa for her hard work and the employees in the finance department that back her up and help her with all the numbers, and all the employees that do a great job living within the budget of their departments. One thing I wanted to point out is part of the budget is the $300,000 for road repairs, but that does not include grant projects in which we contribute anywhere from 9 to 13% matching funds for major roads like 6th Street, 10th Street, some of the projects that you'll see that we'll be working on here pretty soon on those streets, including the hazard elimination grant that we got for Kern Street. Initially, that grant included upgrading for the LED lights, which PG&E came in ahead of us to do that as part of a project they got for energy efficiency. So we were able to reprogram that money for things like mile per hour feedback signs that tell you you're going this fast, slow down, and pedestrian crossing ahead, because some of our major pedestrian incidents have been on Kern Street. And obviously we have to work with Caltrans to allow us to do those things, and we're using federal money that's routed through Caltrans. So there's a lot of red tape from the beginning of an application to actually installing it. And part of that is the city has to front all the money up front. We have to do everything right, and then we submit for reimbursements to get our money back minus our match amount. So the fact of the matter, the city is contributing more than the $330,000 for roads if you count all the money that we get for grants through the year. And we work real hard to try to get everything we can. It's getting tougher because of different rules that they've added to accessing grant funds, disadvantaged community stuff, air quality stuff, and stuff that kind of puts us at a lower importance of getting that money. It's made it hard. We're lucky that we got all the money we did for Rails to Trails and the times we did, because that money is really hard to get, which includes landscaping and stuff. So, some of the comments we hear in the community, everybody needs to know that any development that happens within the city, new buildings, the planning department and planning commission review those in a public process. And like planning commissioner said tonight, they welcome people to come out with their comments, and their comments may be something that somebody didn't think of, parking issues, or it may not fit in that area, or may cause problems with a neighbor. That's why we have the process. But anybody that's been to those meetings, there's not a lot of people that show up there. So
Hardly any.
Come on down, get involved in government. It's one thing to critique government, it is your government, but to get involved in it is another thing. Come on down, get involved.
And I'd like to also say that dealing with Caltrans is just awful.
the red tape part.
It's we all want to have certain things, but when it comes to Caltrans, it's just more than difficult. So for people who might think or assume or whatever that we just get a stop sign here or get a thing there or put up a sign anywhere or do anything, no, it's not a happening deal. So I think you
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, City Manager Jones. So, yeah, a lot of hard work goes into finding all that money that we can to invest in the community. So thank you for all that hard work. City Attorney statements.
No statement, Mr. Mayor.
How about thank you, yes, I'll be at the 4th of July celebration.
Thank you. Yes, I will do my best.
Oh, that disclaimer, that's something that they teach you guys in college, for Christ's sake. You can't make a statement without a disclaimer.
I actually have some wristbands.
VIP passes.
I will be unable to make it this year, so.
You gotta bring
Well, you sweetened the pot for you. All right. The records show that the city attorney accepted our gracious invitation and guaranteed that he would be here.
It'll be in the minutes.
All right, thank you. Okay, future agenda requests. Any future agenda requests this evening?
I do.
All right.
Kind of piggybacking on what Councilman Cryer said, we do need to honor some of the people that have been icons in this town. And, you know, prior to their passing away would be nice. One of those, actually two of those, would be Bill Black and Glenn Dolder Black. Of course, Glenn Dolder Black is no longer with us, but he was the longest seated mayor in the city of Taft. And the Black brothers did a lot of things to establish and develop the city. And I think it would be a nice gesture before Bill gets any older that we bring him in and his family in to honor him. And maybe we can get with the families and get some of the information. They're very interesting people. And some of the things they've done are very fascinating. I think we should honor them. Dolder Black's widow is aging. She's in her mid-90s. And I think it'd be a good idea to talk to these people, get their families in here, and show them how much we appreciate the things they've done before they get any older.
All right.
I concur.
Very good then. Any others? All right. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Okay, it is consent calendar time. Consent calendar items 13 through 21. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none, those items are item number 13, the minutes for the June 5th, 2018 regular meeting. Item number 14, payment of bills, about $625,000. Item number 15, police department organizational structure. The recommendation is to approve the deletion of the position of acting police captain and the addition of one police lieutenant position and the deletion of 3 vacant school resource officer positions effective July 1, 2018. Item number 16 is an addendum to the alcohol and drug testing policy. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving the drug and alcohol policy addendum, City of Taft, Taft Area Transit. Item number 17, cancellation of July 3rd, 2018 City Council meeting in order to make sure that the city attorney and his family can make the festivities. I might have added that last part for the record. Item number 18, agreement with NSM Recycling for the demolition of 300 Supply Row. Motion to approve the demolition of 300 Supply Row as well as to appropriate $24,000 out of capital reserves for demolition and approve the demolition agreement with NSM Recycling Incorporated. Item 19, special event permit and encroachment permit for the Taft Fireworks Spectacular, and that's exactly what they are at the very least. Recommendation is a motion to approve a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving special event permit number 2018-08 and encroachment permit for the Taft Fireworks Spectacular by Taft Chamber of Commerce at the Rails to Trails stage and the closure of 6th Street and Supply Row on July the 4th, a Wednesday, 2018. Item 20, establishing a no parking zone on the north side of Oak Street from 6th Street to 10th Street. And that's a recommendation to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft establishing a no parking zone on the north side of Oak Street from 6th Street to 10th Street. And finally, 21, funding to the Taft Chamber of Commerce for the quarter of January 2018 to March 2018. That's a motion to approve the 25% allocation of the transit occupancy tax to the Taft Chamber of Commerce for the quarter of January 2018 through March 2018.
Might mention that was about $11,000.
Very good. Keep those bucks coming. Okay. I have a motion.
You have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Thank you very much. May we have a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Do any council members wish to remove any of these items from the consent calendar?
21.
21. All right. Then at this time, to correct the motion, we would like a motion to approve consent calendar items 13 through 20.
Consider it amended.
Amended. Thank you. And the second?
Second.
Amended as well. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Nor.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Item number 21, funding to the Taft Chamber of Commerce for the quarter of January 2018 to March 2018. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. An agreement from 2008 agreed to fund the chamber in the amount of 25% of the actual transient occupancy tax received and paid quarterly to the Taft Chamber. Total amount of TOT received by April 30th, 2018 deadline for a quarter of January 18 through March 18 was $45,268 and some change. The amount to be allocated to the chamber will be $11,317.14.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve approve the 25% allocation of the transit occupancy tax to the Taft Chamber of Commerce for the quarter of January 2018 through March 2018.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Cryer, since he pulled it off, I'm going to give him the motion, and that means Councilman Bryan, I'm going to give you the second. So you get the $25, you get the $100.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Cryer, you wish that we remove this from the consent calendar.
As I briefly mentioned earlier, Taft is doing great. You know, we have some ups and downs in our city and stuff, but we're getting a lot of tourists here. I remember a time not too far back that the chamber was getting between $4,000 and $6,000 a quarter. And that was it.
Yeah.
You know, and now up to $11,000.
I was back when Randy ran the place.
Yeah.
That hurt.
The chamber.
About 2,100.
2,100. You know, that's in 3 months.
Yeah.
But things are
Taft's
improving.
dying, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So things are happening here. We've got a lot of people coming in here, and taking advantage of it. And that's been a lot of money, keeping our city growing. And there's a plus there. And if people are saying that we're dying, they need to go by the motels and see how busy they are. And look at the events that we're having. The chamber is doing a good job. What they're doing, their business is to bring business here, and also to have activities here so people can enjoy our quality of life here and enjoy things with their children, the fireworks, the motorcycle shows or car shows. There's all kind of things the chamber get involved with. Some people don't see it all unless they participate. So I think they're doing a great, excellent job, and we are growing. We are bringing money in this town, and things are happening. That's what I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. At this time, I have a second. Or I'm sorry, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this matter?
If anybody's keeping tabs, it's somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 in the last 8 quarters.
All right.
Pretty darn good.
Keep it up. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Nor.
Yes, then pass on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. All right, that concludes the open portion of this evening's meeting, and we'll have to go into closed session for a conference with real property negotiator Craig Jones, City Manager, Government Code Section 54956.8, APN 032-110-30 and 308 Church Street. Item B, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9A, Taft Union High School versus City of Taft. Thank you all for being a part of this evening's meeting.